Good morning, group. It is Friday morning, and we're getting close to the end of the unit here on the Renaissance. And I want to take a few minutes to talk to you about the concept of the printing press and comparison to the cell phones. So I shared a document with you, which if you haven't pulled up, you need to pull up. And it'll sort of be a guideline, as it has in the past with PowerPoints or whatever. That'll walk you through this brief overview. So make sure you get some notes, and you can certainly ask Mrs. Levengood any questions you want, and perhaps she'll extend this discussion a bit afterwards. First, I do want to talk about, real quickly, the one senior item on the table, and that is the poll for the items. And I think we have right in the range of about 70 people who have cast their ballot on this, and that means we have maybe a little over 30 to do so. So if you get an opportunity to say something to those who haven't, or just to remind them, that would be wonderful for the class. We'll close this out at the end of the school day today, and I will then pass along the results to the class officers, and I'll also have Mrs. Neubauer read an announcement to the same effect. Now we need to move our attention to the issue at hand, that is printing press versus cell phone. Now, Tim Egan's article, who is one of my favorite writers for the New York Times and many other publications, had a very interesting take on this, as you read. The key to it is he found the cell phone wanting, not fulfilling a major promise or a big idea, producing something that would transform society in such a way that mankind's life would be enriched and would be better for them. They would have more rights or more freedoms. But the printing press, he saw as certainly an instrument to do that. So I'm not going to go over all the changes, societal, economic, political, that the printing press produced. You've read about those, and you're going to also see that in movements like the Scientific Revolution, the Protestant Reformation, religious, and then of course the Great Revolutions, the American and French Revolutions, where you had massive societal, economic, and most importantly, political changes. So the printing press was directly connected to that, a one-to-one correlation. Now let's go over to the cell phone, and I gave you quite a list. There's a lot of different thoughts and ideas. I'm looking at it, scrolling through it right now. It's been a wee bit since I've looked at this document. I did a little editing this morning, but the key to this is cell phones. When they first came out in the late 90s, the idea was that they were going to take particularly the developing world, those people who are economically and politically not in the position that we in the developed world are, and was going to transform their lives. And it would even transform our lives in a progressive way. By progressive, I mean increasing our happiness, making life freer and safer, bringing more stability. And Egan and many other thinkers like Egan have found the cell phone to be lacking in that. So I'm going to run through just a few things. I don't need to read this to you, and you can go over this another time, but I want to go over some of the big ideas. In particular, those who want to prevent mankind from advancing, like going back to the time of the Renaissance, which would have been the Catholic Church trying to hang on to power. Dictators in the modern world have basically usurped. They have taken the power of the cell phone oftentimes and limited that by finding ways to block it and to prevent it from fulfilling this idea of being a tool for change. And you have things like the Arab Spring in 2011, where many people stood up to the numerous dictators in the Middle East and tried to overthrow them in a peaceful manner. Unfortunately, the powers to be found ways to prevent the organizational power and the motivational power of the cell phone. They found ways to prevent that. Two of the great giants who have been able to, in fact, not just block the power of the cell phone, but then turn that around to use it for their own purposes, have been the countries of Russia and China, both run by authoritarian dictatorships, different forms, same outcomes. So, unlike the printing press, where dictators really couldn't control that, the powers today have done so. That sort of segues into disinformation. There's a great piece on the New York Times about how false, fake news has just permeated the use of cell phones and technology. And it's become such that we don't know what the truth is, where the information has come from, why that information was put out there. So the whole idea of truth has become relative, has become almost opinion, which of course it isn't. There is truth, it's eternal, and it's true in all cases. The people who have taken the cell phone and promoted these disinformation campaigns have really, again, impeded what the cell phone could do. And again, this didn't happen in the printing press. So I'm going to drop down a couple of these. It is very, very, well, let's go to the issue of commercial. Not only have dictators co-opted the power of the cell phone and used it for their nefarious purposes, but commercial powers have. The great companies of the world, particularly those connected to marketing and ads, they have taken the phone and constantly we're being manipulated. Our thoughts and our behaviors are being influenced by what we see on these phones. And the whole social networking movement, as you know, it's only possible. It's not a free commodity. It's only there because of ads, of people trying to sell us something, be it an idea, be it a product, be it a service, but people are being manipulated. And that massive change of society that has happened as a result of this, that manipulation of society, that commercialization of this product is not something that happened to the printing press, but you guys fully understand how that has happened to the use of the cell phone. The amount of money that is spent on that is just one telling factor. So as we finish this up, the cell phone has been a disruptive technology, which can be good, but that disruption has not necessarily moved us forward. The time we spent on phones, the amount of time, has that produced a higher standard of living? Has that produced greater happiness? The whole idea of relationship, social networking, ask yourself, are relationships better because of social networking? Do we, across borders, state borders or international borders, do we understand each other better, or have we become more fearful? And then that idea of, certainly the printing press increased literacy and particularly language in the vernacular. That could happen with the cell phone, but what is it that we are reading? What are we learning from that? How are we putting that information to use? And oftentimes with the cell phone, again, as you guys fully know, the reading that one's doing is not necessarily knowledge, and then us acting on that knowledge to help ourselves and help others. That's not what we do with the cell phone in most cases. So in conclusion, as I wrap it up here, I want this right around 10 minutes for you. Tim Egan and I would agree personally with him that the promise that the cell phone has held in terms of just revamping society, yes, it's revamped and it's disrupted society and really created a whole new set of behaviors. That has not been always for our good. And to this moment in time, the cell phone has not produced a big idea, a big movement, a progressive concept like the cell phone produced, or the printing press produced, excuse me, in movements like, again, the Protestant Reformation, where the Catholic Church, its power is greatly diminished, the scientific revolution, where vast amounts of scientific knowledge would be discovered and then built upon, and then lastly, changing politically the concept of who man is and what rights he or she should have. Cell phone is yet to do that. Could it? Possibly, but at this moment in time, that does not seem to be the case. So there are a group, there's a comparison. I hope that helped clarify that and help you grab these big ideas. Once again, it's the concept, it's the principles that will drive your understanding of why we study history and what that means to us. I wish you a great weekend, all the different groups competing, going different places, safe travels, and my thoughts are with you. And perhaps we will talk next week. Have a great weekend.